welcome. Hi. I'm Christa Wessel, and I'm the midday host at All Classical Portland, which I know for a fact is the #1 preset on all your radios, right? 89.9? Yes? Okay. I'm also the host of On Deck with Young Musicians, which airs Saturdays at 5 o'clock. I interview young musicians in our community about their love of music, and these teenagers do have a love of music. I'm also the host of Thursdays at 3, which is our live concert on the air every Thursday at 3, and I hope you'll come by and see a concert live. It's free, in person. You can find out more at allclassical.org. All of that said, plug over. I'd like for you to meet my guest today. Are you okay? This is Kevin Kunkel. He's a member of the cello section of the Oregon Symphony.
Hi. No, I'm just looking out to the audience. Like I've never actually sat right here.
Right.
Yeah.
You're usually like...
We're usually blinded by the lights, and so we can't really see out.
There are people that come to see you every week. Here they are. First of all, we're going to dive into your experience here in the Oregon Symphony. I hope you don't mind. When I get the chance to interview musicians, I really like to get to know them personally. I feel like it helps really connect us to the people who are making music for us. For the next 30 minutes, we're talking about this guy and who he is and how he got here. But first, I want to know how you spent your day. I know the answer, but I want you to tell the folks.
Okay, today was the first day of Classical Up Close. It's a chamber music series that's been going on for some time now, and Toni Gan and I,
a fellow cellist
in the section, we just played some cello duets at Powell's.
Inside Powell's.
Yes. Yeah.
So what is that like? So
fun.
Classical Up Close, Oregon music, bringing world-class symphony musicians to you. It used to say Oregon Symphony musicians on the loose, and I liked that a lot too. Organized by musicians of the Oregon Symphony, you're giving free chamber concerts around town, and then these free blitz concerts too, like what you did at Powell's. What is that like to play inside of Powell's?
Yeah, well, it's interesting, like warming up, there's all these announcements going on, people paging others, and I was wondering, background music, I was wondering when is this gonna stop? Because Toni was playing a pretty difficult Baroque, classical Boccherini sonata, and she sounded so good on it, and I wanted everyone to. Yeah, and then so eventually it stopped. But yeah, it's really fun, just playing in places you might not normally play. Yeah, it's kind of our way of giving back to the community, just to say thank you, and also we get to play music that we organize on our own, and yeah, that's always fun seeing what people, there's a whole list of interesting pieces that members of the symphony have chosen to perform.
I'm assuming there's more of these flyers out in the lobby. Do you know for a fact, Susan? Susan's one of the organizers. Look for the Classical Up Close flyers in the lobby. I'm assuming they're there. But today kicked off the blitz performances, which are just, like half-hour performances in like coffee shops and Powell's. And then Tuesday kicks off the free evening concerts, which are evening-length events, emceed by me and Kyle Mustaine, the English horn player. And we invite you to ask questions, any questions of the musicians in those situations. And it's really fun and interactive. And you're doing one of those as well.
Yes, May 2nd, playing a quartet, John Adams quartet called Fellow Traveler. So that's on the 2nd. I don't even know where it is. Oak Hills, no. Milwaukee Lutheran Church, May 2nd at 7:30.
ClassicalUpClose.org is the website address. All right. So you've already played a little bit today in front of people. You're going to do so again tonight. Tell me how you got to the Oregon Symphony and how long you've been with the Oregon Symphony.
So this is my 2nd season. I arrived 2 Septembers ago, and...
It's so poetic the way you said that.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking, yeah. It was a long summer, and I had done a lot of traveling, and I finally made it to Portland, and it was very nice to be here. The first concert was Bluebeard's Castle. I don't know if any of you saw that.
Yeah.
So that was an amazing operatic, artistic experience for
Yeah, welcome
My
to Portland.
first concert, yeah.
And so where did you come from?
Yes, I was in the New World Symphony in Miami Beach, Florida for 4 years prior to moving here. And yeah, so that climate change was a bit rough, especially, 2 winters ago, you all know that it was
Not
very
pretty.
snowy and cold.
Do you guys know what the New World Symphony Orchestra is? Can you explain how special this orchestra is?
Yes. The New World Symphony is basically a training orchestra. They call it America's only orchestral academy. So it was started 30 years ago by music director of the San Francisco Symphony, Michael Tilson Thomas. And he just wanted to create an orchestra that was temporary, that would give people right out of music school the tools to win a job in a professional orchestra. Not just that, other things, just being an overall well-rounded musician, thinking kind of outside of the box, thinking about new concert possibilities. At New World, the possibilities were endless. It was currently, it's in an amazing Frank Gehry building. You're living with your peers around your same age. Everyone is required to get a bachelor's of music before entering, and if you win a job after a month, you can leave. If it takes you the whole time, I mean, I actually left New World technically without a job, and that was exciting. I was excited to move on. I'd been there for I was kind of it's a 3-year program, and I was there for 4 years. I got lucky and applied to be considered for a 4th year, and I got it, and so
is it, can you think of it as grad school, like paid grad school in a way? Like
a graduate fellowship program, kind of. It's basically a professional orchestra with a professional orchestra schedule, kind of less pop stuff, more chamber music. But yeah, it's a lot busier than a symphony orchestra because we're kind of required to go to other meetings about audition training and music psychology.
Oh, wow.
Feldenkrais, Alexander technique, all that stuff.
You sat up when you said Feldenkrais.
Exactly.
What is that?
Just, being in touch with your body, just using
posture.
Yeah, especially 2 amazing mentors, Uri and Hagit Vardi. They teach at University of Wisconsin. They came down all the time and just worked with our bodies when we play to make it more relaxed so we could release more tension.
So you're taking classes, you're learning, you're in
Yeah.
workshops, and performing.
And having
rigorously.
like a normal orchestral rehearsal schedule and concert schedule, yes.
And was it exhausting, and were you beaten down?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Well, yeah,
Some people might say that, but
Oh, really?
it was you could do as much as you wanted. If you wanted to create your own recital and use the hall in a unique way, like you could do whatever you wanted.
Huh.
And so yeah, I was really into it. I loved my time there, so I was trying to milk it and just enjoy it because it's so temporary.
And there are a number of alumni in this orchestra, yeah?
Yeah, Trevor, Marilyn, 2 of the cellists, Karen Wagner.
Oboist.
Yes. Elisa Paulson.
And
I'm forgetting a lot. Laura Ha. Yeah.
And so
bunch of people.
you were there for 4 years, you said, and the idea of New World Symphony is to kind of train you for a real world job. And you said you can audition along the way. Mm-hmm. Did you, in fact, audition along those 4 years?
Basically, you're expected to take orchestral auditions while you're there. So you can leave, and you request time to leave, and it's, they're very nice about it, and you can leave to take an audition. And at the same time, they have a sub-list of people who get to come down when you leave. So that's amazing for them because they're usually in school or maybe freelancing, and they get basically a paid vacation down to Miami Beach. So I never subbed before getting in, so I didn't have that experience. But yeah, I took, my first year I didn't take any auditions, but after that, more frequently. As
how many do you think you took over the course of the 4 years?
I took, the Oregon Symphony was my 13th audition.
Wow.
Which sounds, does that sound like a lot?
That sounds like a lot to me.
Sounds like a lot, but it's not.
Really?
Unless you get very lucky,
huh.
Yes. Yeah, some people, amazing players, you know, might be lucky and win their first job on the first audition, but it takes practice because the audition circuit experience is very different than just playing for an audience or by yourself. Or it's a whole nother, that's a long conversation for some other time. I could get very deep into that.
Well, yeah, because you have to present your best to an audience you can't see because the judges are behind a screen, and you've got like literally, what, 4 or 5 minutes to do that.
Yes, you're in a new town, you're probably a little jet lagged, you're kind of sore from, I mean, I always felt this. I was just carrying my luggage and my cello, and it's so nice to travel without a cello because I'm anonymous and I don't have to deal with the, you know, at every step, every checkpoint, someone is trying to stop me. To get on the plane because they don't realize that I've bought another ticket, yada, yada, yada.
Like, oh my gosh, the expense of auditioning for a cellist.
Cello, that's what people, when, you know, kids are choosing their instruments, you never really think about these little things that could affect you financially when you get older, if you go so far. But yeah, cello, most people buy a second seat.
Wow.
Right next to you.
I'm trying to do the math in my head. 13 auditions.
Double. Some hotels, meals, yeah. But I enjoyed it. It was always, I usually had a bunch of friends taking the same audition from New World, or it was nice to see people I haven't seen in a long time at the audition. And it was just kind of a little vacation, to be honest.
Really?
A lot of people, most people dread taking auditions. I didn't enjoy it, but I tried to make the best out of it, because even if you don't do well, if you don't advance out of the first round, you're free. You're free to hang out and try food, It's nice to win, it's nice to, you want people to like how you play, you want to have that validation that, you have worked hard and you can play under extreme pressure, but sometimes I just wanted to enjoy it. And I also was lucky because I had New World Symphony to fall back on for those 4 years.
You didn't need that job.
Right.
Does that help to go into that with that attitude, in an audition with that attitude?
I think so, yeah, because so many people put extreme pressure on themselves and the outcome is not to their liking, usually. And when you take an audition, you have to expect to fail. And you just, there's one winner. And most of the time, they won't even, well, not most of the time, a lot of the time, they won't pick anyone because for many reasons, there will be a no hire. And so that's extremely frustrating. Sometimes for, the 120 cellists who flew out to some city and spent all that money and they didn't hire anyone. Yeah. But
it's interesting to hear you say you have to go into an audition expecting to fail. That's the exact opposite of what I would imagine your teacher or a coach would say. You have to go.
There's a whole other side, people, repeating mantras to themselves all day. I'm the best. I can play with absolute freedom and and I've done a little bit of that, but I also am realistic. So I just tried to, it took me a while to kind of figure it out and to not care as much and just focus on the music. Yeah.
So, from an expert in auditions, having taken 13, are there any tips that you feel are important? This is being videotaped, and I'm assuming future professional cellists will be watching this. What audition tips can you give?
Audition tips. That's
attitude or
attitude. Yeah. Let's see. Let me think. Where to start? I am not someone that really prepared extremely far in advance. The repertoire that we have to perform for auditions is music that, if you're on the like orchestral track, you know it. It's been a part of you for a long time. You've studied the orchestral excerpts, you've studied your concertos. That's in you. It's always a question of like getting your technique up to make everything fluid and have your emotional ideas come out with ease. Let's see, what else?
What, mental preparation?
Mental preparation. Just seriously focusing on the music. That's the only thing. There's so many. I always think about if Mozart or Tchaikovsky or Richard Strauss knew that their music was being used this way, kind of mechanical, competitive nature, they would not be happy. So I try to I want to please them. I want to please them, yeah. And when I came here, when was it? May of 2016. It was a beautiful day, like today. Well, I was here for a week, and so I was just, my first time in Portland, walking around everywhere, seeing people's gardens, and I was in heaven. I did not expect just a huge variety of fennel growing on the sidewalk and, all of that stuff. So, yeah, even though Miami Beach was gorgeous, amazing, tropical flowers and trees and foliage, but I was very pleasantly surprised when I was here, and I was in a good mood. Yeah.
That would probably help one.
Yes, okay, so basically another thing, think positive, like right before you play, because it's so easy to think, okay, I have all this pressure, I'm not feeling well, like my body feels different, I don't have the right chair, all these things out of your control, and you just have to hope for the best and prepare for the worst. Prepare to not advance, prepare to not get the job. Yeah, that's how I am. Everyone is different, how they deal with that. But also, some people get to the new city and take an extreme amount of time of trying to focus in their hotel room, practice a lot right before, and that sometimes works if you're cramming to like learn some of the music. But I always thought, I got this advice from a friend who's actually from West Lynn, Max Blair. He's probably not watching, but he's actually associate principal oboe of Pittsburgh Symphony, and he was in PYP, and he studied with Karen Wagner. He told me that you should not expect to focus, leading up to the audition except right before, because there's no way you can spend all that energy thinking about these same excerpts and the same concerto. You need to just have fun, veg out, watch some TV in your hotel room, hang out with friends, and then right before the audition, right before you play, that's the time to just really get it into gear and focus. Yeah, it's smart, healthy. It's realistic.
Mm-hmm. Is that the way you kind of approach playing music all together? How big of this is a silly question, but how big of a part of your life is the cello? Is music everything for you?
Music is a big part. The cello is an instrument that I chose in 5th grade, and I'm so thankful that I chose it because it's amazing.
How did you choose it?
Okay. 5th grade came along, actually at the end of 4th grade. It was time to choose an instrument for 5th grade. You didn't have to if you didn't want to, but I have a twin brother, and he was first trying out all the instruments, and he chose the violin. I have a British cousin who is a violinist, and right around the time we started our instruments, she came to Northwestern to do her master's from England. So okay, sorry, I need to backtrack. Why did I pick cello? There's no weird, amazing story like me hearing cello on the radio. I didn't know what it was. I thought maybe I wanted to play bass clarinet because I heard Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy somewhere, don't know where I heard it, but that do-do-do-do-dum, that part, I wanted to play that. So you can't start on the bass clarinet. So I tried clarinet, I could not make a sound. Then I was thinking the double bass, because it's big, you can play jazz, you can, I don't know. And you can't, at my school, you couldn't start out on the double bass.
You're thwarted at every turn.
Yeah. So and like everyone else was picking percussion and saxophone, so that was not an option. And I thought it would be nice to stay in the string family because my brother tried the viola. And then I just tried the cello, and my string teacher, Nancy Kunkel, just kind of pushed me towards and said that this would be a really good instrument for you. Because I was pretty tall for a 5th grader. I was kind of the same height I am now. Yeah, so it was, I mean, a tiny bit shorter, but I think I had already had my growth spurt. And it was a good choice. And I just realized how great cello was, so I never switched to the bass.
And did you fall just deeply in love with it? Cello, cello, cello?
In the beginning, yes. Yeah. I was into cello. I was into all the cello repertoire. But, watching my cousin play at Northwestern, her recitals and her orchestral concerts, and just her being around, she actually, this is an interesting thing. So she would always play for the family. Like if we had a family party, someone would ask her to play, and she would. I'm not like that.
Really?
I kind of refuse, but she would always do it, and it really affected me. She would play like Mendelssohn Violin Concerto Last Movement without piano, just by itself. And she actually played this piece by Szymanowski called Meet, and which is like a very kind of chamber music-y. You kind of need a piano, but she would just play the last movement without piano, just randomly at these family functions. And I know Szymanowski from when I was 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's the concerto we're going to be hearing tonight.
That's the concerto that Sarah Glock is performing, same composer, his first concerto.
So I feel like I'm taking 18 tangents.
I know, sorry, I need to backtrack a little bit.
But I do want your opinion before I forget on the Szymanowski concerto, because it's likely going to be unfulfiller to the bulk of the audience. Mm-hmm. How can you orient us to this concerto? What do you love about this Szymanowski concerto?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm a big fan of his music in general. He wrote an amazing opera called King Roger. He wrote several string quartets. He was a very... he liked the violin. He wrote a lot of chamber music for violin, and I'm so jealous because I've played the quartets, but I don't get a chance to have those chamber music solo concerto works. I don't know what the first time I heard this piece, but it hands down is my favorite violin concerto, and I'm so happy that Sarah is playing it because her sound and her playing is perfect for it. Yeah, it's very sensual, exotic sounding, kind of sounds to me a lot like Firebird. A lot of bird call. Szymanowski was very interested in Greek mythology and the Islamic religion, and his music is just unlike any. It sounds like everything, but he's so specific. It sounds very Polish. It sounds impressionistic, especially this piece was written kind of in his middle period. It sounds, you can hear Debussy, Ravel, but it also has kind of the big, sweeping, full orchestra tuttes that kind of sound like Strauss and Wagner. Yeah.
So is it, I can tell you love Szymanowski.
Yes,
is it just a dream for you to be sitting in this orchestra, hearing it all?
It's weird because I didn't study the cello part. I know the piece as a whole just from listening to it. And so that's always kind of interesting when you're playing a piece that you've always been in love with. The same thing happened with Daphnis and Chloe. That's hands down my favorite orchestral piece, and we just played it a couple of weeks ago. And you kind of have to focus a little bit more because I'm kind of trying to play the other parts a little bit, or I'm like expecting to kind of control some part that I don't have any control over. So I have to just, yeah. But it's nice because you can just play the cello part and, enjoy the rest.
What you hear from the cello section is not what you hear when you listen at home to a recording.
Yes, yeah.
Because you're in the midst of it.
Yeah.
You mentioned a second ago that when you said Szymanowski, and the first thing you said was like, he wrote this opera. And oh my gosh, we are almost out of time. I can't even believe this. Okay. But in getting to know you, I've come to know that you are an opera nerd.
Yeah,
it's impressive, actually.
Like I said, I had the cello phase very early on, and then it turned kind of weird. Like I skipped kind of the romantic period. I was really into Stravinsky very early on, Barber, Bloch, Janacek, all those guys. And then, so I went to Indiana University, and they have an amazing opera program. Had to play a lot of operas, saw almost every performance of the operas that were going on. And that just kind of inspired me to listen to more opera.
And that's kind of what you do in your spare time.
Yeah, that's all I do. That's all I do. I'm listening to old singers or new singers or keeping up with what's happening at the Met. I don't know. It's a whole nother world from the symphonic world.
He shared with me the other day, too, that he even has a weekly newsletter for his friends, introducing them to different arias, different opera singers.
Yeah, I do this festival in Southern Oregon, the Brit Festival in Jacksonville, and some of the cellists there asked me to send a weekly email, and it's called Opera Wednesday, and it's basically what I do most days. I'm just watching YouTube videos of a certain singer trying to find like who is the best at this aria, who do I find most moving singing this aria. So that kind of just developed into it's not a blog, I'm not dissecting every moment, but it's just
you're just sharing.
I'm just sharing a 4-minute, 5-minute aria every week.
That kind of comes around to the initial question I asked, to wrap it all up in a tidy, nice bow, because we're going to have to end in a minute. Like when I asked how passionate you are about music in general, I think that's the answer. Like you're listening to opera arias in your spare time and writing newsletters about them.
I guess so.
I feel like there's so much we could talk about. If you have more questions for Kevin, would you be willing to stick around up here for a couple minutes? Feel free to come on down and talk to Kevin. Thank you for coming early and getting to know Kevin Kunkel a little bit. If you know a cellist in your life or even an opera fan in your life, tonight's concert conversation has been taped, and we're going to put it on the All Classical Portland website. You can see it at allclassical.org. Tonight's concert not only includes that Szymanowski, but the amazing Oregon Symphony, so you are in for a treat, and enjoy it. Thanks for coming today. I know, right?